I hunted Shiny Scizor in every generation by SirToastyToes. I'm actually curious to see what methods are used to hunt Scizor across the generations. I think there might be a game where you can hunt Scizor. I'm ready to see what he uses.
A shiny hunting challenge I've had my eye on for a while now is the Shiny Generation Quest. The first YouTuber I saw take on this gauntlet was Shiny Collector, where you find shiny Pokemon from every generation that they appear in. I knew that if I were to attempt such a thing, there would only be one real candidate, my clear frontrunner favorite Pokemon, Scizor. Not only are they my favorite, but Scizor has the relatively uncommon distinction of being able to originate not only from every generation of Pokemon, but being able to potentially carry every single origin mark as well.
Right.
Introduced in Generation 6 with Pokemon X and Y, origin marks are small icons that communicate which set of games a Pokemon came from. These were originally used as a way to prevent transferred Pokemon from competing in tournaments and sidestep the gnarled issue of rare transfer exclusive moves becoming relevant in competitive play.
Right.
This of course had its own set of issues, like event Pokemon being the only way to get certain moves and abilities that were available in previous generations. The commentators in the 2014 World Championship Finals even comment on how Jody using Cherish Ball Tyranitar indicates that it could potentially have Ice Punch, a previously tutorable turned event exclusive move that it wouldn't regain until Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Analyzed, huge protects coming out from Sagen, blocking both the Ice Punch and the Will-O-Wisp, and getting the paralysis on that Scarf Tyranitar.
Yeah, excellent play there. You probably noticed the Cherish Ball previously, knowing that the Tyranitar is from that promotion. Only way you can get Ice Punch, so also notice there's no egg moves on this Tyranitar, so you get some useful information there. It also makes a fantastic play by slowing it down.
So this is actually when we discuss Pokeballs and potentially giving information, because we've talked about it a few times. How I use most everything I have in Great Balls. Sure, I have something maybe in like the odd like Cherish Ball, like on my current Sun team that the Discord helped me build for current regulation. Right, I'm using the distribution Incineroar from Wolfie's Incineroar, so it's in the Cherish Ball. Right, so it is a niche interaction, but I think that goes to illustrate my point in regards to, like, it would be cool just to be able to just swap whatever Pokeball, right? Like, most everyone's going to buy, like, Ultra Balls or Dust Balls or Quick Balls anyways, right? Like, it doesn't... The competitive interaction is, like, yeah, you notice the Tyranitar with the Cherish Ball, and the fact that, you know, you can intuit potentially, you can gather more information, not necessarily what it is. Yes, if they throw it out, you know, if they swap back in and they throw it out, yeah, there's that split second where you'd be able to see in the Cherish Ball, thus, you know, it's Tyranitar, so you can see ahead a little bit, but that's diminishing returns, in my opinion. That's a more notable interaction in regards to, like, being able to intuit a move set. Not that it necessarily gives it away, but the fact that, like, it's in a Cherish Ball, therefore, do you have the understanding of, you know, this having Ice Punch? So I think that that's a really good way to illustrate it. In event Pokemon, yeah, are going to be Cherish Ball locked. I don't see them ever like actually getting rid of that. But I mean, if you catch like a Tapu Lele, or if you have a your starter Incineroar that you want to use, but let's say you want to use all Premier Balls, right? The fact that you can't just like consume Pokeball from your inventory to transfer to it is kind of wild to me. I also wonder if that's just a holdover from not only early days, but also the anime as well. Because going up through Johto League Victors is where I'm currently at, because I've kind of just spaced actually continuing the anime at this point. I'll get to it eventually, but just having the time to be able to do that. Like, I don't remember ever being able to swap Pokeballs. So I don't know. That's an odd one. That's an odd one to think about. Like, that's an actual valid game interaction that can potentially telegraph more information than you want to give out.
Directly relevant to our purposes, by way of its pre-evolution Scyther, we can not only hunt a Shiny Scizor from every generation of Pokemon, but also one with each game-specific origin mark as well. And if there's a full set of something in these games, I can't resist collecting all of them. So with our mission set, let's turn our attention to the beginning of Pokemon with Generation 1. While shininess in the entire Scizor species wouldn't even exist for another few years, it's still very possible to hunt a Shiny Scizor from the Generation 1 Kanto games. In the first two generations, each Pokemon has a set of determinant values, or DVs, ranging from 0 to 15 in each stat, which control how well a specific Pokemon will perform in each area. This is a
These are like proto EV and IVs. DVs are definitely something that I don't have understanding of, but if you're a competitive Gen 1 battler, I'm sure you're very familiar with the system.
Extremely similar to the individual values, also known as IVs, that have been in use from Generation 3 onward. One key difference from IVs, however, is the correlation between DVs and shininess. If a Generation 1 or 2 Pokemon has a DV of 10 in Defense, Special, and Speed, and an Attack DV of 2, 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 14, or 15, that Pokemon is a shiny, even if it isn't visible unless traded to Generation 2.
Right,
and if we multiply up the 1 and 2 of having one of those attack DVs, and then the 3 1 in 16s to have specifically 10 in the 3 other DVs, we arrive at exactly 1 in 8192. Now, it may be unsurprising to learn that Generation 1 is poorly programmed on this front.
Yeah.
The wild encounter system of all Generation 1 games is coincidentally bugged in such a way that not only are some sets of DVs not possible to encounter, but the set of impossible DV combinations for regular wild encounters includes all 8 shiny DV spreads. Pokemon encountered in Generation 1 via tall grass, surfing, and caves will never have the DVs necessary to be shiny,
Fascinating.
leaving gift Pokemon, legendary encounters, and fishing as the only encounter methods that can potentially produce a shiny.
That's kind of wild. I mean, so at that point, right, like, what do you engage in? RNG manipulation, A's arbitrary code execution, right? Because technically, then you'll get the argument that that's not how the game is meant to be played, right? Like, glitchless speedrun versus non-glitchless speedrun, right? Like, sure, you can, like, wrong warp to the, Elite Four in some of the older Pokemon games, I think specifically Gen 1, but then it's like, okay... But are you technically beating the? You're by technicality beating the game, but are you beating the game? Right? Are you doing that in a time frame where you play through and engage with the game? Right? Not to say that glitch categories aren't valid. I mean, it's just a different skill set to be able to do certain button inputs and sequence correctly. Right? That's why it's just a different category. So that's actually interesting that the game just physically doesn't allow you to do that.
While there are mods out there like Nora in the Future's incredible Shiny Indicator and RNG patches, or glitches like Fossil Conversion for otherwise unhuntable Pokemon, Scizor needs no fancy methods and is purchasable directly from the Celadon Game Corner, a reputable establishment with fewer than 2 secret criminal hideouts beneath the floor. But before we go spending our 6,500 hard-earned coins on any old Scizor, we need to go over how we'll know when we've bought the right one. Hunting in Generation 1 is a lot less like traditional shiny hunts, and more like reading off the winning lottery numbers and seeing that you are 1 digit off from the jackpot. Blue Moon Falls, as it so often is in these videos, is a goldmine of a website for niche pursuits in Generation 1 and 2 Pokemon, and has a tool that will list the exact stats that each of the 8 possible shiny Scizor can have. And
I was wondering if this existed, because the tool makes sense, like how we've seen prior, I think it was an I'm a Blissey video, where building the team, it's like, yeah, you can technically look ahead, right? How many eggs will it take to actually hatch a shiny, right? So, and I was curious, I mean, are you having to level this up to a certain point to like 50? Surely not 100, right? Because at the very least, that's just not efficient. But the lower the level is, I mean, like because the Pokemon with 6 IVs and everything is pretty identical to a Pokemon with, 0 or 15 IVs and everything at like, the early levels, right? It's not until you start leveling up. There is a certain point in which like, yeah, then you can intuit, okay, if this has what I mean, that's what IVs were in later generations, right? It'll have an additional whatever your IV value is at level 100, right?
Luckily, at this level, Scizor always has the same stats for each of its DVs. The defense, speed, and special DVs will always need to be 10, and so they remain the same across all 8 possibilities. Attack varies the most, and if we see a Scizor with an HP value other than 82 or 86, we don't even have to go into its summary to check the others. Because the HP DV is calculated from the other DVs, anything other than these 2 numbers can't possibly be shiny. But with the full 1 in 8192 shiny rate looming in front of us and our winning lottery tickets laid out, there's no way forward but to begin putting in resets.
Just apply face to problem. I mean, he's got more patience than I do. It's why I haven't done shiny hunting. I mean, it might be an easy way to get some streams out over on the Purple app, but like, I don't know. There's just something about shiny hunting that it's just time consuming, but it's also just like I just don't have the patience for it. It's like I respect a good shiny hunt. And then, I mean, you're also just using the multiple systems as well. I know there's entire setup with, like, what, 16 GameCubes and stuff to shiny hunt certain things, which, like, is great. I also love that it's Poke Park at the top. I do like that. I do like having the funny game right in the middle. The Wish Catch just looks like a smaller version of itself. It's not chibi. I love it. I think I just missed, like, I mean, you have, like, what, Pokopia, the funny Ditto game that got revealed recently as of reacting to this, and it's, like, it's just not the same as, like, something like Poke Park. The name Pokopia throws me off, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I'm sure it's someone's game. I'm sure that it is definitely a game that someone is going to want to play. I just, personally, it's just not a game for me. Just looking at it, I'm not sold on it. The shiny Cleffa? No, it's a Clefairy. Got the funny hair thing. Amazing. Is it the one on the right?
I think that's a shiny.
Think is the keyword. I mean, like, the fact that I'm already, like, off tangent, like, talking about other things, right?
They all match. Yeah, I think that's our shiny Scizor.
After 564, not bad. Not bad at all.
Okay, that was faster than Darkrai, which was my...
The Crobat top mid reminds me of the bat from Sonic Adventure 2 from the Chow Garden.
previous fastest full odds hunt, so...
Yeah, I mean, if it's only 564, that's not bad. I need to get myself a copy of Poke Park. It looks really fun to play. Or at the very least, it looks just fun.
Okay, I guess we're done with Generation 1.
Good stuff.
Well, after what is now my fastest 1 in 8192 hunt, and hopefully a good omen for the pace of this challenge, which, for the record, I thought was going to take me well past the release of Legends ZA, we can trade Scizor to Pokemon Crystal to see her properly shiny glory.
Amazing.
Having Scizor
so
here in
cool.
Generation 2 is more than just so we can see her shiny sprite, however.
Evolving
As it
Scizor.
turns out, having shininess tied so closely to DVs means that with the introduction of Pokemon breeding, shininess is also a hereditary condition.
What?
Let me explain. When you breed a Pokemon...
I tried looking at Gen 2 breeding to try to pass an egg move onto, like, Gligar once upon a time. And, like, I feel like I'm pretty okay at breeding, right? Like, I understand, you know, Destiny not, you know... Everstone, you know, how those things work. Sometimes you need a refresher on a mechanic or two. But, like, I mean, you know, that's Gen 3 breeding rules as I understand it going forward. Gen 2 is an entirely different ballgame.
On egg in Generation 2, the opposite gender parent passes down the defense DV exactly as it is.
Sure.
If female Scizor with a defense DV of 10 breeds with a male Scizor with a defense DV of 15, every male egg will have a 10 defense, and every female egg will have 15 defense. The special DV is also passed down. However, there is a 50% chance that the game will either add or subtract 8, adding if the DV is 0 to 7, and subtracting if it's 8 to 15. In our above example, if a female Scizor has a special of 10, half of the male eggs will also have a 10 in special, and half of them will subtract 8 for a special DV of 2.
I feel like this is an example of Pokemon not obfuscating, what's the word? Just like making the calculations just longer. I guess the word would be like needless calculations, right? Like I feel like this is a way to arbitrarily complicate the system. I don't know. That's interesting.
On the other hand, if our male Scizor has a special of 7, half of the opposite gender female eggs will inherit that 7, and the other half will add 8 for a special of 15.
Sure.
The keen-eyed may have already realized that this means that the opposite gendered children of a shiny Pokemon have an increased chance to be shiny themselves,
Sure.
with their defense always being 10 and their special having a coin flip's chance to be 10 as well. Because half of the possible shiny attack DVs result in a male Scizor, the shiny rate with a shiny parent is extremely high. Stacking up the 1 in 4 to get a shiny attack DV of the gender that inherits from the shiny parent, a 1 in 2 to have a special DV of 10, And the final 1 in 16 to have the required DV of 10 speed results in an overall 1 in 128 shiny rate for eggs produced this way.
It's not bad.
One final question that arises from this is why not just use 2 Pokemon that can pass down the 10 defense and 10 special DV? But Game Freak actually planned for that. If 2 Pokemon have the exact same defense DV and their special DVs are either equal or differ by exactly 8, they will never produce an egg, presumably as an anti-inbreeding safeguard.
Okay. Yeah, it also doesn't... you can get close, like 1 in 28, but you can't actually guarantee it.
While there's much more to the can of worms that is shiny egg breeding in Generation 2, including using shiny Gyarados to pass shiny DVs across egg groups, or breeding Ditto or Pokemon with extremely skewed gender ratios to produce eggs with shiny rates as high as 1 in 64. Since that won't apply to this quest, I'll link to and encourage you to watch Canned Wolf Meat's more in-depth breakdown of this mechanic. Returning from our biology lesson, we can place our shiny Scizor together with a male non-shiny Scizor with a different trainer ID in order to secure the highest possible chance that we receive an egg.
Early mouse.
Generation 2 was very stingy with the egg rates compared to the rest of the series. Having the same species and different trainer IDs in gold, silver, and crystal gives a 31.25% chance to produce an egg, with the steps the player must take between each roll varying randomly from 1 to 256. For comparison, the best egg rate in Generation 2 is only slightly better than the worst still compatible egg rate of 20% from later games.
I think it's really interesting because we never really get to... I wonder if this is just... Well, because when you move to Gen 3, right? Like, you could put things in the daycare, but unless I'm misremembering Cerulean daycare from, like, Fire Red, Leaf Green, you couldn't really see them, and that was kind of the thing, right? Like, even going to, like, something like Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, right? Like, giving Pokemon to the daycare, you couldn't actually see your Pokemon in the daycare area. So it's interesting to see them in Gen 2, but it was ultimately a different time with different sprites, right? Like, these were just different. These are, you know, because they had to shorthand some of this, right? There wasn't a Pokemon model for every single Pokemon. You had generic icons. It's actually why one of the cities in Scarlet and Violet was actually really fun to see, because it actually used the Gen 1 sprites on the side of the tower. I can't remember the city for the life of me, but it was cool to see something like that, where you just got, like, to see the old models, the old sprites. Sprites is the correct term. But, like, it would be, I don't know, this has been a feature that I've wanted for a while, and I feel like it wouldn't be fairly too terribly hard to implement. Like, let's say, I don't know, something like Gen 5, you put a Whimsicott and a Ditto in the daycare, just have a Whimsicott and Ditto sprite just in a daycare setting. I don't even remember what the daycare is in Black and White. It's been that long since I've played it. So I guess this was a feature that I've always, like, man, would be cool to have, but we did have it in Gen 2. And I feel like in later generations, we just kind of didn't have it. Now in Scarlet and Violet, which I think was a really cool way to do it, right? Like, because even in Sword and Shield, right? Like, you had your, like, Pokemon and Me-esque thing with your camp, right? And you could do certain things like that. But, like, Scarlet and Violet, you just have the Pokemon in your team, and they walk around, and they fall asleep, and you get eggs in the basket, right? So I think that's a step in the right direction for immersion. Like, it's been an interesting journey to see how the daycare actually operates.
Compounding this, overworld abilities like Flame Body and Magma Armor that speed up the egg hatching process haven't been invented yet, which makes eggs a truly glacial shiny hunt compared to the later games in the series.
Right.
This isn't actually the first time I've bred shiny Scizor from Generation 2. I did it once to play Clear Cut Challenge on Stadium 2 with Shiny Scizor using the N64 transfer pack, and another to transfer up to the mainline series in Ribbon Master as a Scizor. And so I was bracing myself for yet another triple-digit Generation 2 egg hunt.
Was Scizor actually red in Stadium 2? That's actually really cool.
That is a smart strategy, Reggie, using the Pokedex's registered minimum and maximum sizes to check if you have a size mark in the batch. Yeah, they lock you off from the last 3 boxes for the required catches. The Dialga Palkia.
Right. It's to prevent soft locking.
Temple of Sinnoh, and then the Origin Dialga Palkia. Slightly after that, and then also Arceus. Yo, that was so fast. What the heck?
That was really quick. That was like, what, 28 eggs exactly? Wild.
28 eggs for a 1 in 128?
That is pretty poetic. I love that. It's like poetry. It rhymes. For those who can't see underneath my model, it's like, is it red in Stadium too? I didn't know that.
Okay, I guess I'm just speedrunning.
Yeah.
I thought, legitimately, I thought this challenge was going to take me into, like, I planned for the challenge to take me into the release of ZA.
Mm-hmm. Game had other ideas.
And now we're just like, we're on to the methods. Like, we already have Gen 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might be done with this, like, before August ends.
I love the shiny Weasel on the shiny Mime Jr. That's actually really cute. Never played Poke Park. It'll be a wild game to pick up. Makes me want to actually. Oh god, a modern version of it would be honestly really cute. You can make a mobile game of it.
Okay.
Floats.
I guess we're done with Gen 2.
Yeah.
With 2.
I mean, sure. I guess there's argument that it's like, well, you didn't actually like catch it. You piggybacked off the Gen 1 success, but it's like, is that not Pokemon? Like, is that not how that works? Also, I do posit as well, officially, yes, there is that one GBA cart thing that we went over in another video that does allow Pokemon to go from Gen 2 up to Gen 3, but officially there's no official way of going from Gen 2 to Gen 3. So the Gen 2 shortcut, honestly, like, makes sense. It also outlines the breeding mechanics and how they are just different in Gen 2. So I think that's incredibly fair, especially because, you know, outlining how breeding in Gen 2 works and showcasing the math, right?
Hunts on the side of well under odds, I was bewildered by the pace we were setting on this challenge. But it wasn't time to celebrate just yet, as we now face the tricky task of evolving Scyther into Scizor. Our Generation 1 Scyther will remain unevolved for now, as her Met location would be set to Johto if we were to evolve her here and lock her out of her home game. Crystal helpfully gives you 2 metal coats, one on the SS Aqua and one held by Maggie the Magneton traded by an NPC. I, however, have already used these metal coats when trying to get the Pokedex entries for Scizor and Steelix. And so our only recourse to get more of them is to steal one off of a wild Magnemite using the move Thief, with a whopping 2% chance for any given Magnemite to hold one.
I love seeing Nidoran male with male underneath it, because that's Nidoran male and female is definitely a Gen 1-ism.
The best encounter rate I could find for them was on Route 6 over in Kanto. By leading with a level 14 Pokemon and having a Repel active, Magnemite goes from a 20% encounter all the way up to 57.14.
Wild, okay.
Combined with the 2% chance to hold a metal code, and we have an approximately 1.14% chance to find what we're after on any given encounter.
I always forget how Repel works, because it's something about the front level in your party. I always forget how that works, so it's really cool when that mechanic pops up.
Magnemite does have a chance to run away, so we'll need to make sure our Thief user is faster than them. The wild Raticating Granbull, however, can still outspeed us, but by stocking up on Pokédolls we can keep them at bay. But after what feels like a longer hunt than it took to actually find the shiny egg, we managed to yoink our prize off of a Magnemite right before it heads for the hills. Handing our precious cargo off to Scyther, all it takes is one trip through the 3DS's simulated link cable to get our first proper Scizor since beginning our quest.
Good stuff.
Generation 3's Pokemon Coliseum is the first game where we can hunt Scizor directly instead.
So I'm actually a little curious before it continues on this, what he means by leaving the Gen 1 Scyther unevolved for now. I'm assuming we're on original hardware, right? So how is he, what does he mean by that?
Of evolving it from a Scyther, as it's available in the Japanese version's Card E-Room, where e-reader cards can be scanned to find bonus trainers and snag additional Shadow Pokemon.
Right.
While hunting Shadow Pokemon is perhaps even slower than the methods we've already used for Generation 1 and 2, this particular hunt is one I've already done 3 years ago.
Right.
Giving us our pseudo-mascot of the channel, Toast.
This would have to be the Japanese version, right? Or maybe Japanese is just faster. Yeah, just using level 100 Rayquazas and stuff to get going. I feel
But,
like, yeah, this would be a little
We use
slow.
the Poke Radar to find 2 shiny Togepis in Pearl, and so we technically have them. I just need to evolve one.
Yeah, especially because of how slow the battle system moved. That's actually kind of wild to think about. I feel like a shiny hunt in Coliseum would definitely be... That would be a big time waster for me. I could probably end up doing that, and that would be multiple streams of just, like, trying to get it. I know XD, I think, is the word. I need to look at the process again by the sandwich. Dude, I feel that. Sometimes you just gotta eat. Especially when it's something like this on stream. Like, we were locking in with Silent Hill 2 Remake recently, which, man, that game is, oof. It's like, nice. Okay. That was, what, 4,900? Okay. That's not
We're
bad.
Done. We
Still
got it.
favorable in terms of, like, RNG.
Oh. There it is.
My concern is, especially because of all the GameCubes that I've gotten, and, like, they're fine, or someone's like, yeah, no, it's refurbished and everything works, is that the laser on the GameCubes just goes out consistently. So that's kind of my worry about running things for an extended period of time, because I've had GameCubes just start... I mean, it's, 20-plus-year-old hardware at this point, and nobody makes the parts for them anymore, or the parts that are, are made and are around, obviously supply-demand going to increase in price, but even potentially questionable quality. So, like, I don't know, I might do this on the Wii if I was to do it, because the Wii, unironically, is just a champ. Like, the Wii is oddly resilient, where the GameCube has a couple fail points like the laser.
We did it.
Wild.
All we had to do was get the dual hunt going.
Yeah.
Speaking of whom, while looking for naming conventions to center this challenge around, Quick Panic suggested that we use the names of various toasts and toasted dishes.
Yeah.
Going back to our previous 2 shinies, I named our Generation 1 Scyther Bruschetta and gave Generation 2's Scizor the name Avocado. Moving on to Generation 4, this was one I knew I could do within an afternoon, because here we get access to the Poke Radar.
I was actually curious who he's going to go through Fire and Leaf. So he's going... I'm assuming he's doing, like, the best odd hunt per generation is what it sounds like, right? Like, reasonably. Because, like, I was expecting, like, a Ruby Sapphire. I was at least expecting Emerald and or Fire and Leaf Green. But I think the Coliseum one was the better hunt, if I'm being honest.
All-time favorite shiny hunting method, mostly due to the fact that I'm really good at it. I'll leave the specifics of how the shiny method works to my past self and link to my guide. But the basic gist is that with a little luck and by picking the right shaking grass patches 40 times in a row, we can find sparkling grass that will guarantee an encounter with Shiny Scizor.
Wild! I vaguely remember the shiny grass. I vaguely remember reading this on Cerebi, but I don't remember the mechanics.
Having radared every single Pokemon that can be found with the Poke Radar, I already knew exactly where Scizor spawned. I even radared one on my flight to Anaheim for Worlds just so I could trade a shiny of my favorite Pokemon to Micah the Brave at Disneyland.
Amazing.
Positioning ourselves in the grass on rainy Route 215 in the morning, we have a 15% chance of encountering Scizor to start our chain before we're off to the races.
So I'm assuming he's using Repel, right? He's using Repel to get the steps in to be able to trigger that? There it is, right there, bottom left. Look at the Onyx in top left. I love it. That is such a funny, Okay.
Yippee! The Poke Radar continues to print shinies.
Wild. I'm gonna have to get on that Poke Radar tech. So is he using Diamond Pearl or is he using Platinum? This would be Platinum, right? Because of the darker backing on the the darker backing on the Pokemon stats, right? The HP and stuff. I'm assuming this is Platinum. I'll have to go get my Platinum up to end game. Wild. I mean, the false swipe there is going to be relevant for this, yeah. The ninja's carrying him top left, so good. Funny Kyogre. Putting it to sleep, yeah, max chance.
Go to nest ball here.
That was easy. Nest ball giving increased catch rate, yeah.
All right. What kind of toast is this?
Garlic bread count? I think that's the thing that throws me off.
Quick was talking about it earlier. This is butter toast.
Butter toast? Yeah. Just an Nettie reference.
With butter.
I think that's the thing that throws me off is like you have to like be engaged, right? Like you have to be locked in to a degree because it would be very easy to like, I don't know, for me to like look to the side, right? And like, take a bite of something and completely miss shiny grass like that. I mean, it's active rather than passive. I'm sure it gets more passive the more you do it, right? But there is a certain level of just like, you can only autopilot so hard. If my eyes are bugging out this one, I'm sorry, my allergies are like really bad today.
The Scyther caught, the matter of evolving her is much simpler. Having Radared and by extension caught 40 each of Magnemite, Bronzor, and Beldum, all with a 5% chance to hold a metal coat, I have plenty of them to spare.
Right.
Entrusting one to Butter and trading her to Heart Gold to evolve into our Generation 4 Scizor.
I mean, yeah, like especially if you're stocked up on that, right?
Generation 5 poses a unique challenge, as Black, White, Black 2, and White 2 have no encounterable Scyther, let alone Scizor. While Unovan Scyther did exist in the form of Dream World and events, those methods were shiny locked. So finding a shiny Scizor from this generation will require one of the most famous shiny hunting tools, the Masada method. Since I have Japanese copies of Platinum, it doesn't take much doing to set up multiple Generation 5 games with opposite gendered pairs of English and Japanese Scyther to activate the 5 additional shiny rolls for each egg.
Honestly, I do need to pick up. I think I have a Japanese copy of like White, but yeah, because I have a Japanese like Fire Red. I don't think I have Leaf Green. I have definitely a Japanese copy of Emerald. I need to go pick up JP copies of these. That's a really good point he makes.
And this brings the approximate shiny rate to 1 in 1,365. My White 2 game also has the shiny charm, so with the 2 additional rolls, its shiny rate jumps up to approximately 1 in 1,024. One fun thing that using eggs allows us to do is to pick a fun Met location for this particular Scizor, even ones that normally can't have Pokemon encounters. To do this, we first stockpile the eggs in the PC, whose shininess is determined when we pick them up. After saving, we can start opening them up to see if the Scyther inside happen to be shiny.
I mean, Monster Method is very famous for trying to grind out shinies, which, I mean, if it's efficient, it works, right? Like, looks like he's got 2 copies of 1 and 1 of 2. Rolling all 3 of them. I'm looking at the Groudon Wiggle. I feel like Pokepark was very of the era. 486 attempts. I love the chibis, they're so cool. Is that one there? Bottom right looks dark.
There it is.
Wild.
Well under odds.
Yeah, no, that's very good. That is very like reasonable in terms of RNG. At 489.
And yes, that's the game with the shiny charm.
Shiny Charm puts in work. That's why I try to blitz it in every game that I have access to it. That's why I tried it.
With our shiny Scyther egg identified and after resetting the game, a quick scroll through the list of Unova Met location reveals a couple funny options. So heading to Route 9, we can hatch Scyther again inside the department store, giving us what may very well be the world's first shopping mall Met location shiny Scyther.
Weird to think about, actually, yeah. I wonder how many odd location shinies people can get, because there's definitely some odd ones, right? I love that. Perfect. I think that's the part that makes me sad, though, is after a certain point, it does truncate to, like, met across, like, time and space and stuff. Like, it does, like, obfuscate where it was met. Unless there's a hidden option where I can, you know, see it. But as far as I'm aware, like, especially, like, if you were to transfer this up to, like, Gen 9, right, Scarlet Violet, like, it would just, like, met across time and space.
And Absolblog's Pokemon suggested the nickname idea Texas, one of my favorite kinds of toast and a perfect fit for a Scizor from Unova.
Makes sense.
There you can see shopping mall.
Yeah?
The metal coat we need to evolve him can either be found in Chargestone Cave or Clay Tunnel, and evidently I picked one of them up at some point as we already have it in the bag ready to go. Attaching it to Texas and trading him to evolve into our shiny level 1 shopping mall Scizor.
Kind of wild, yeah. I mean, like, I would love to see more and more, like, unique location, like, shinies. Because it'd be very easy to have it on Egg Route, right? Oh, I forgot, yeah, that he constructed the pixels in this one. Yeah. Wow, I haven't played Black and White in a decade plus. Gonna use that just as a quick segue into having a partial playthrough of Heart Gold Soul Silver. Well, Heart Gold specifically, over on the gaming channel, I'm trying to get daily uploads going. Pokemon Mondays has been a thing I've been trying to get for a hot minute. I'm very curious what specific games people would want to see in which order, because that has been a goal, but I'm kind of inundated right now with like a few things like Diablo, at the time Metal Gear Solid Delta that's going live, and then Silent Hill 2. As of right now, because like one per week, I mean, that's got me out through like January 2026 right now. Just that way, it's not like, you know, you're not like completely bombing people with uploads. But yeah, I need to get on that. 2026 is definitely going to be the year where I'm going to try a little bit harder to get out it's the thumbnails that get me. I've been debating on using generic thumbnails.
Oh hey, editing Toasty here. So in my off-stream time, I've been hatching the remaining Scyther eggs so I can send them to Bank to farm BP.
Right.
And it turns out one of the eggs on the black cartridge was also shiny.
Wild.
I left them unhatched for now so I can pick out a good Met location. So if you have any suggestions where to hatch it, let me know in the comments. Already into the 3DS era, and Generation 6 Scizor is already within sight, as this is the second game where we have access to our wonderful Poke Radar.
I've never used the Poke Radar in X and Y. Never used it.
Kalos' version has some new idiosyncrasies that I explained in a separate video, but the main concept is exactly the same, requiring 40 encounters in a row to maximize the chance of a sparkling patch and a shiny Scyther. Unfortunately, Kalos is much less amenable to Poke Radar chaining, with very few routes having the ideal conditions.
Sure.
This incomplete patch of purple flowers is the best Route 21 has to offer. So we'll have to position ourselves a bit strangely while radaring and hope that our shiny patches don't get eaten by the empty parts of the patch.
Right. Because I'm assuming they still count as tiles. It would surely be on screen, right? Like, it surely wouldn't be off screen. Like, it would give you a notice on screen. Okay,
Yo.
Fair enough. Yeah, Poke Radar just seems to print shinies. Wild. Okay.
Gen 6, super quick.
Yeah, that was fairly quick. So this tells me, well, you have fishing, right? You have fish chaining. Yeah, because you don't have, because you couldn't do this on water, right? So you would have to fish chain. I mean, I think X and Y is better than people give it credit for. I know it was one of those that, like, it was kind of a weird entry for me personally, but, like, I don't think it's a bad game by any means. I would genuinely have to go through and play it again, which has been, I've been trying that for a hot minute. I've been needing to, because I hardly remember it. Like, it's just been that long.
Yeah, Poke Radar,
Little nutty.
I'm quite good at.
I mean, it seems like it's efficient. Like, you gotta give it, you gotta get props where it's due, right? The luxury ball. It looks so good. The model does look really good. Oof. I don't think they did anything to change Pokeballs, right? Trying to tell if there's, so it's not my monitor. I'm trying to tell. It almost feels like there's a light buzz to it, like kind of like, you know, the old CRT TVs, how you would leave it on and then you'd, like, you know, maybe like the volume's low or something like that, and you hear like a light buzz. I'm noticing that. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Good stuff, though. I mean, that was fairly concise, fairly consistent.
All right. So this is obviously French toast.
Mm-hmm. yeah.
X and Y's metal code is found in the Pokeball factory in this weird little corner. After grabbing it and giving it to French, a trade to Omega Ruby secures our Generation 6 Scizor.
Mm-hmm. So we're up through Gen 6. This tells me that some of these are going to be pretty long. I'm curious what mechanics is going to go over. So I like this at its core because not only is it shiny hunting, but it's also explaining different generational mechanics. Some that I've never engaged with, like Poke Radar.
Since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are in the same generation and have the same origin mark as Kalos, we don't need to pick up a Scyther from those games.
No.
Coincidentally, making Hoenn the only main lane region we won't be collecting a Scizor from. Up next is Alola, and this region's main shiny hunting method is SOS encounters. By encountering a Scyther from the bushes on Pony Plains, we can lower its HP and make it nervous with an Adrenaline Orb to get it to sometimes call for help.
I kind of miss this mechanic, because I engaged with this a lot. There was also interactions where, like, I think you could, like, get Pokemon that weren't regularly catchable to spawn, right? Like Dragonite, I think. Well, I know for a fact Salamence could be SOS chain. So that actually had a couple different purposes, not purchases. So you could actually, brain. Oh, sorry, I'm trying today. So you could actually, like, go ahead and like just be able to, like, catch everything, right? Like, yeah, you could evolve it up, but, like, just having that option, right? The modular option. I think that the chaining, though, got a little frustrating, especially when a Pokemon just kept calling for aid, especially when it was, like, the one you wanted, right? I think it was definitely one that took a little bit more time. I don't know. I'm kind of like, I look back fondly on it, but I could see people being mixed on it.
This then has a chance to summon other Scyther to its side.
Right.
And racking up successful calls will give us 4 additional shiny rolls after 11, 21, and 31 Scyther. With Shiny Charm as well, our shiny rate caps at 15 shiny rolls, approximating to a 1 in 273 shiny rate. As for how we set up this encounter so that both our and the enemy Pokemon last that long, that's where this gets a little complicated. So the main issue we face here is that Scyther has a call rate of only 3%. Using an Adrenaline Orb and lowering it to 1 HP, we can get a 10x multiplier for a call rate of 30%.
I'm trying to remember if I think it's you hold the Adrenaline Orb, right? Which thus, it also does make it harder technically, so it's a cost benefit, because then you don't have something like leftovers.
From here, we can't raise the call rate, but we can raise the answer rate. Normally, a Pokemon's answer rate is just 4 times their call rate, in this case, 12%. But there are a few multipliers that can apply here, most of them out of our control. Namely, if Scyther is called for help multiple turns in a row, giving a 1.5x multiplier, and if Scyther's previous call for help wasn't answered, it gets a 3 times multiplier. The last two that are under our control are a 1.2 times multiplier if the Pokemon we have out has the ability Unnerve, Pressure, or Intimidate, and a 2 times multiplier if Scyther was hit by a super effective attack and lived during the current turn.
Right.
While there is the potential of using something like Aerolate on Mega Pinsir to turn False Swipe into a super effective attack, getting a Pokemon with an unsettling ability to the front was much easier.
Yeah.
Our ideal setup is to get the battle to a state where both Pokemon can't run out of moves, while also having some sort of passive healing for our catching Pokemon that doesn't use our ability or item slot. To achieve
But how do you set up the infinite move slot though? Because it will function on PowerPoint, right? Unless I'm completely missing something. It's one of those things where like you will be limited by the amount of like, you know, like ether and elixir in your bag, right? Would you not? Even if you PP maxed your moves.
To achieve this, I led the battle with Exeggutor, who has the hidden ability Harvest, using Skill Swap to give it to the Wild Scyther and Bestow to hand off a Leppa Berry. With this combination, Scyther will have a chance to find Leppa Berries at the end of each turn, making it extremely unlikely to run out of moves. Next, I got Scyther nervous enough to call for help and used a Skill Swap Mewtwo to pass off the ability Pressure.
Okay, so you are playing the long game. You're giving it to Scyther so Scyther doesn't knock itself out with Struggle. Okay, that makes more sense.
3, Intimidate would have been the best, as Unnerve blocks Leppa Berry consumption and Pressure causes Scyther to run out of moves faster. But with infinite Leppa Berries and Stantler being the only Pokemon I know of that can pass Intimidate to the opponent by itself, I went with the Mewtwo I had already caught rather than train up Stantler for one battle. I then sent in a first Smeargle to use Aqua Ring and Ingrain, 2 moves that provide passive healing at the end of each turn, with Ingrain having the additional effect of preventing switching out. Baton Pass still works, however, and so by using it we can pass the 2 passive healing statuses to our main Smeargle. Using Skill Swap to take pressure back from the second Wild Scyther for the permanent 1.2 times answer rate, we can use X Attack, X Defend, and Roto Boost to crank up our stats.
I think I just love how this is like a physical possibility. Like you have to kind of do like some abstract thinking. You have to think outside the box. But like, this is wild. I need to see if I can get this on my Ultra Moon copy. I need to see if I can get this going.
And with all of that setup out of the way, there's nothing left but the messy business of mowing down Scyther in search of the shiny.
Sorry, allergies are really kicking my butt today. I'm so sorry, chat. The fact that you're using double Smeargle too is kind of wild. Seems very modular. I also love the fact that this is just possible in the system because of like actual double battle, right? Like, I don't know. I think that I actually really like this system. It's definitely a little bit more big brain to set up certain things though. Go for longer hunts and stuff, right? Longer chains. Yeah, I could definitely see that getting a little time-consuming with low call rate Pokemon. Yeah, because you definitely want to keep that there and just deal with anything that actually comes into play until you're ready, right? And then you could reapply it to the shiny if necessary, right? To keep it alive. Especially because some things will have a lower catch rate. Excuse me. I'm not sick, I swear. It's just, oh god, allergies.
There we go.
There it is. Good stuff. Very noticeable shiny too. Very, very vibrant.
You were right, Liar King. One of these days we will get the shiny.
Watching this Smeargle. What a strange design. I love it, though. It's very classic. Excuse me, I'm chaining sneezes right now. Something way less good.
Goodbye,
only 152? Not bad.
Now I'm going to skill swap pressure to the shiny,
right,
so that
you
way
can reapply it.
They don't lose a bunch of power points for no reason.
Right, makes sense. Because then you guarantee that it will actually live. Which is very smart keeping that as an option. Especially because somebody who's like had Tapu Lele struggle itself. Obviously, legendary Pokemon a little different, right? But like, I wonder if you could set that up actually. You should be able to set that up, set something like this up fairly easily, shouldn't you? I'll have to check if you could set something up like that, like on like a legendary counter like the Tapu.
Now, I don't have Roto Catch, so
I don't remember what the Roto powers even do. I think it's just have crouch.
Let's see how
right?
this goes.
In the Ultra Ball. The Ultra Balls looked really, or sorry, the Beast Balls. Beast Balls looked really good. There's a period of time where I used them, like, for everything. Obviously, the catch rate is low. I think it's also a cheeky way to, like, say that it's from Gen 7. I think the UI for Sun and Moon was honestly really great, though. I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah. It's also bug type, so it would still be susceptible to Spore. Yeah.
Now, while there is a dish called Toast Hawaii, which would be perfect theming for Alola, it's actually a German invention. Naming this Scyther Burnt, which was a fate I surprisingly avoided during my own trip to Hawaii for last year's Worlds, we can find the metal coat we need quite nearby on Pony Gauntlet. Bafflingly, this wasn't here in the original game, but Scizor is still part of the Alola Pokedex, meaning that before these games came out, if you wanted to evolve Scyther, you had to steal the item from a wild Magnemite, Skarmory, or Beldum.
I will say though that the Pokemon that actually like have items on them, I think they're fairly reasonable though.
But with the Ultra games having no such weakness, trading him over, we now have our first Scizor from Generation 7.
Mm-hmm.
The strict generational positioning of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee was once a matter of fierce debate among scholars, but most seem to agree nowadays that it's part of Generation 7, with Sword and Shield being the start of Generation 8.
I would still take disagreement with that because of just how different it is, and it's also moved to the native hardware. That would be like saying Pokemon, how do I word it? Pokemon Colosseum. Well, there's some debate, right? Like, Colosseum, XD Gale Darkness are strictly Gen 3. Usually a generation comes with new hardware, too, does it not? Right? So, like, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Black, White, Black 2, White 2 are all DS era, right? And there's, like, an actual generational gap, right? Between, you know, like literal new generation between 4 and 5. Gen 6 is XY Oraz and Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. But, like, sure, while you technically don't really add anything more than Melton and Melmetal, because those are really the new additions, right? You do have the Cantonian forms as well as the Alolan forms, because I remember using Sassy Alolan Muck in for great effect in Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. I would personally consider it more in 8, strictly with, I mean, one of the big reasons is because Pokemon Home is a requirement at that point, right? Like, you can't bank that. It is required to go to home. I think the discourse surrounding it's fairly interesting, though, and I'd be curious on the logic that puts it at 7. I would fairly securely put it at 8, though.
However, unlike all Generation 6 games that had the same origin mark, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee have one of their own. One slight issue, the last time I shiny hunted in Let's Go was for a Tentacool so I could Ribbon Master it to go along with a plush I bought for a single gag in my Generation 2 decorations video.
Amazing.
And that was hunted in Let's Go Eevee, as that's the one I bought for transferring Pokemon from Go back when that was something Home couldn't do.
Right.
Scyther, however, is a Let's Go Pikachu exclusive. And so after getting our opposite version, we can play up to Fuchsia City, which is the first opportunity we have to find Wild Scyther on the nearby Route 15. This is also where we get access to the Go Park, which we can use to bring over the Pokemon we need for our Pokedex, catch them, and then make a pit stop in Celadon City to pick up the Shiny Charm. The main shiny hunting method in the Let's Go games is the catch combo. By
I love seeing the red and green art in the background.
catching the same species over and over again without any of them running, a bunch of nifty benefits will unlock.
I also think that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee did hunting for natures correctly, because you could go to Celadon City, right? And you could talk to the channeler in the Pokemon Center, and it's like, you know, what would you like as a red flower? What would you like as a blue flower? Like, I want my red flower as adamant. I want or it's not adamant. Well, technically it's there in the end. That's just the end step. I want my red flower to be attack, and I want my blue flower to be special attack. Whoa, every Pokemon you will meet for the rest of this day until day rolls over will be adamant, right? And I'm really sad, because I thought that was a great way to actually do that. It could expedite the amount of things that you could hunt, right? Like, let's say you wanted to make like 4 different variants of, I don't know, Scyther for some reason, right? You're not necessarily shiny hunting, but you're rolling like, I don't know, competitive, or you're wanting to like get a bunch of adamant Scyther to be able to do for like a giveaway or something like that, right? Like, I thought it was just a good way of doing that, but even then, it's like, well, adamant as well, you can go and hunt a couple different things as well, like a Rhydon or something, right? Like, I'm very sad that NPC never came back, because I thought it was a very progressive and user-friendly way of just hunting natures. But I guess now we have the mints, so I guess they made the grind a little more tedious, right? Because it effectively eliminated the grind, right? It's just effectively just doing login reward status, right? Just playing every day to cycle between natures and stuff. So I feel like the mints, while they are a progressive way of guaranteeing what nature you get, I feel like they wanted to return the grind a little bit to be able to get something like that. And then in Gen 9, we're just missing the Battle Tower completely. Part of me wonders if behind the scenes, the reason we're missing the Battle Tower is to incentivize online play, right? And I'm using the citation of the Megastones, the starter Megastones, right? Chesnaught, Braxian, not Braxian. I always forget. Fennekin, right? No, Fennekin, Braxian. I don't remember the last phase, if I'm being completely honest. I always forget it. And Greninja, right? How those are guaranteed locked as of, like, it's not, Z to A is not out yet, but we do have confirmation from Pokemon that they are going to be locked behind, like, the ranked season, like, season pass, quote unquote. Like, you have to ranked play to get them. So that tells me potentially they removed the Battle Tower from Gen, because the Battle Tower was in Gen 8. It was actually like part of the story thing where you had to go up to Chairman Rose, right? And up to Eternatus, right? But like, well, I think Eternatus was in a different spot. I can't remember offhand. Anyways, but it's definitely one of those things that I look at and I wonder if they've tried to reintroduce some of the grind and they're trying to push PvP more, to which, I mean, Pokemon should be played at the pace that you want it to, right? If you want to play hardcore competitive, go play hardcore competitive. If you want to play casual, play casual. If you want to play it like Gen 1 and you don't want to use natures, anything, or mints, anything like that, you shouldn't feel obligated to, because it's an option, but you can ultimately play the game the way you want. This does force players to play the game in certain ways, and I argue opens up a lot of genning issues by locking the Megastones behind PvP. I don't know, just interesting things to think on.
Including boosts to the spawn rate of the chain species, the spawn rate of rare species like Chansey, and additional rolls for more extreme sizes. This is great because Scyther has an extremely low spawn rate of only 1%, so the up to 50% increase in spawn rate is extremely helpful for actually being able to string together catches in a reasonable amount of time. Actually getting the catch combo started to be able to do that though, that's where our secret weapon comes in. See, the Go Park isn't just useful for bringing Pokemon to the main series, It's also a perfect environment for starting a catch combo if you have a bunch of the same species in Pokemon Go.
Interesting.
For the past year or so, knowing that I wanted to do this at some point, I've been catching every Scizor I could get my hands on, even asking all my friends at Worlds to trade them to me to bolster my collection.
Okay.
And so we can send 29 Scizor from Pokemon Go, lined up and waiting to be caught in the Go Park.
Amazing.
While the maximum encounter rate boost is at 31, this is more than enough to get our catch combo started, and as a bonus serves as practice for the finicky motion controls we'll be using to catch every single one.
So this is why I say the Nintendo Switch, like Nintendo line of products, this is why I say it's a walled garden in certain aspects, because like you can transfer like, you know, Pokemon in, right? And like obviously you're gonna have to transfer Pokemon in. You transfer from Go into Home at this point, right? But like the fact like all of this interplays with each other. When I look at the business model of Pokemon and Nintendo at this point, it very much is reminiscent of Apple and how I understand how it works, right? How the iPad interconnects with the Apple Watch, which interconnects with the iPhone, which interconnects with insert thing here, right? So, not that it's necessarily bad, it's just like that's what you're signing up for. You're signing up for a walled garden, right? You are paying into the line of systems. You are paying into the family of products, which, you know, can get very, very expensive. It absolutely can. So seeing something like this and I think this is a fun way of doing it. I think this is more heart and soul than, and I think I actually really like this feature the couple times I used it. It's very much a interesting way, very reminiscent of like older games, like bringing Gen 3 up to Gen 4, right? Of bringing Pokemon in from Go. But, I mean, obviously we know that like didn't Go get sold off to another company, and I remember very specifically saying if I ever see an ad in Pokemon Go, I will never go back to that game because I think that's a little bit too far, especially when you can pay for passes and pay for like incubators and stuff. I don't know, like it feels like really once the Switch line of systems came out, the design philosophy changed a lot. There's still some and there's still some like cool things and some like awesome things that can come from Pokemon, right? Like we get some really cool things, like looking at some of the textures and stuff and see like on like Rayquaza and stuff and Scarlet and Violet and seeing how much love and care they put into the models. You know, like there's a lot to love, but I think that the hyper corporatized nature of a walled system line of products is definitely starting to show in the games, especially when like I don't even know why I pay for Home at this point when, you know, a game launches and 6 to 9 months later, then suddenly Home support is available. It's like, and I get that there's supposed to be kind of like a lapse or a lull. That way you're experiencing the new line of games and then they roll it out eventually, right? Maybe they're maybe like something like Disney Plus, right? They're milking that subscription money, right? But I don't know. I have very mixed feelings. Like on one hand, I understand the walled nature, and when I buy into, like when I bought my Switch 2, right? Like I understand that I'm buying into a walled garden, but at the same time, like I'm not also without my criticisms. I think it's a really interesting business standpoint to really look at, and also like the art versus business / corporatized sides of Pokemon, how they interact with each other.
The best part of all this is that if we don't save as we leave the Go Park, should the unthinkable happen and our catch combo breaks, we can reset the game and all 29 Scizor will be right there ready to start the process over.
That's wild.
As a final piece of the puzzle, using a lure will give us an additional shiny roll and increase the spawn rate of wild Pokemon. And combined with a catch combo of 31 and beyond giving us 12 rolls and the Shiny Charms additional 2, we have 15 rolls for a Shiny Scizor, bringing our shiny rate to approximately 1 in 273. The same rate as for the SOS encounter.
That's not bad.
We can't just park ourselves at 31 and wait for the shiny to come to us, however. I mean, we can, but that would only give us the regular 4 rolls. The bonus shiny rolls only apply to the next Scizor to spawn after a catch. And this sometimes means ignoring other Scizor that have spawned while waiting for a new one to take the bonus shiny rolls before we catch another. Luckily, as our catch combo climbs, we get tons of candy with each capture, and while these only sell for a measly 10 each, the massive amount of drops means that this method is remarkably self-sustaining, with the money from selling Mighty Candy and Scizor Candy outpacing the money spent on Great Balls and lures. All that remains is to catch Scizor reliably without them running. Thankfully, Pokemon won't attempt to run until you've hit them with at least one ball. Right. But every Pokemon becomes more likely to run as our catch combo increases.
Makes sense.
According to Anubis, every Pokemon that isn't Legendary or Abra normally starts each encounter with a flee rate of 242. After they break out of the first ball, they will begin checking if they should flee after breaking out, and every 30 seconds you're not in a menu. To do a flee check, they roll a number from 0 to 255. If it's higher than their flee rate, they will do a special attack animation indicating that they're about to run away. You can tell this apart from a regular attack animation by the different movements and by the target ring not disappearing. The flee rate number they have to roll above is also reduced each time they break out. The worse your throw was, the more it drops.
I honestly didn't know this was a mechanic.
An excellent throw won't reduce it at all. A great throw will reduce it by 5, a nice throw by 10, and an unrated throw by 20. Flee rate is also reduced by 2 for each Pokemon in your catch combo, up to a maximum of minus 242 at a catch combo of 121. Once we're at this point, the Pokemon will have a 255 and 256 chance to flee at every given opportunity, meaning if you want to keep your catch combo, you have little more than your first throw with each encounter.
Right.
Mercifully, when you catch your 100th of a species in the Let's Go games, subsequent encounters will be much easier to catch. And we can often get Scyther in a single Great Ball with proper technique. And as long as we run before they do, we can keep our catch combo going strong long into the high 300s.
I know I called it the tennis ball launcher when I played this back when it launched, because it really felt like you would just gyroscope around and you would like tennis ball launcher it. I don't know. I need to go back and play it. I need to go play it because I played through Eevee. I'll go play through Pikachu on stream at some point, because it's been a while since I've actually gone through this. I love the models in Poke Park.
Yo!
Ooh, okay. Fair enough. I also like that as the shiny
There it
isms in the
is.
overworld, the sparkles. Very, very in your face about it. Double ball, what? Not the Rizberry. Oh, because he's using isn't this the 2-player thing? I don't think I've ever done this with both Joy-Cons. That's actually why I'm not. Yeah, I haven't done player 1, player 2 on this. So what Pokeball takes precedent over the other?
Higher catch rate ball takes priority.
Oh, okay, explain it.
That's fine.
Makes sense.
Did not know
That's fair.
it was based on who had the better ball.
That's fine. Ultra Ball's fine. Not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, that sounds very approachable. XL 610 Scyther. Wow, that's tall.
Because I always thought it was the main character ball that
Right, it took precedent. But it makes sense because if you're using a higher catch rate, right, like it would default to that. I feel that's by design. I don't know. Once again, just let us
that's just
change
because we were
Pokeballs.
using a Great Ball and Pokeball earlier.
Like, just let us change Pokeballs. This eliminates frustration entirely.
But there we go.
Love the animation. Looks really clean. I have no clue how the 2-player functionality
Since Kanto
works.
is based on Japan, I decided to name this Scyther Ogura, which isn't a dish that comes from the Kanto region but fits our toast naming scheme perfectly.
Makes sense.
And hot on his heels is our next origin mark, Pokemon Go. Having caught my fair share of shiny Scyther in Go, even having a shiny Scizor with the best buddy ribbon, it's a simple matter to send one over through the Go Park as well. Here, with no risk of them running away, we can use a Premier Ball to differentiate him from Ogura.
Makes sense.
And with some nudging from Toxic, our resident bug enthusiast in chat, we can name him Torta and have claimed 2 more future Scizors for our collection. Into Generation 8 now, and this generation has 3 different origin marks. One for Sword and Shield with the Galarian League logo, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl with Arceus' triangle that represents Sinnoh with the 3 lakes and Mount Coronet in the center, and Legends Arceus with Arceus' rings.
Sure.
Sword and Shield is finally our second game in the series where Scizor exists independent from its pre-evolution, but only in 2 specific spots on the Isle of Armor, one in front of the Tower of Darkness and one in the Training Lowlands. These Pokemon that pop up on the overworld in fixed spots are called fixed symbol encounters, sometimes also called strong spawns or wanderers.
Right.
Which Pokemon spawns is usually dictated by the current weather in that area each day. Scizor here only spawns specifically during sandstorms, so it can only be hunted during very specific dates.
I mean, yeah, and this is what people did when Sword and Shield launched. I remember people were setting their clocks ahead to get Gigantamax Pokemon that weren't released yet. Sword and Shield had a very interesting life cycle, and I think this was really the first game in the series where I looked at certain things and realized that, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. So I was going to say this is the first game in the series that features are just going to be rendered obsolete as the next game comes out. But then again, I considered, back when Gen 4 was the main thing, right? Like Diamond and Pearl, not even Platinum, like Diamond and Pearl, the Underground, how, you get together with your buddies and capture the flag and dig up fossils and orbs and stuff, right? But like I called that one lost a lot of momentum really quick as subsequent games come out. Like I've never been in a party over like 2 people, maybe 3 on WFC if that was I think you can connect via WFC. And it makes me really sad because like, well, that is how you get Spiritomb, yes, but like, or at least in part, but like to see features that like are really cool and to not be future proof. I mean, I think it's kind of my same criticisms with a lot of Final Fantasy 14 in a lot of ways. Because, and I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers. The most recent fight as of recording, patch 7.3's boss, does allow you to go in with a party of NPCs, and there are other things as well. Like, if you're going to do a raid, like the O series or the current M series, right, in Dawn Trail, right? Like, yeah, you should be getting with a group of people, right? Especially if you're doing, like, Savage, right? But, because I've definitely been, like, I did the, 6.4 boss? Begins with the G, people know what I'm talking about. But I did that at like 6 a.m. for the VODs. Like, if you actually go to the gaming channel and like do that specific one, like, I mean, I was waiting for like 30 minutes. And so you're kind of at the mercy of people being online and at the mercy of having their like subscription like upkept. So I can tell you myself, I personally have a bias against games that will lock you out of features eventually. And that does go up into including just, yeah, we're not doing this anymore and unplug the server, right? Which many games have done, right? Lawbringers, right? Around Black Ops 3 era. Just now we're done. We're not doing this anymore and just unplug the servers. It makes me really sad because there's something special there. And like, I would love to one day just be in a room full of people who all have like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. And be able to go into like the underground and just have like 8 to 16 people just down there, just to recreate it, right? Kind of like when you go to like a LAN party and everyone's playing, like Quake or something. I feel like that dates me, or like TF2 or something like that. And you go there for the event. You go there to do the thing, to get the photo ops, right? The dude's duct taped to the ceiling, like in that photo. But like, I think it's the more I say that like Pokemon has changed, the more I understand that like. On the Final Fantasy 14 one really quick, and that'll be the aside over. I'll go back to Pokemon. They are making strides. They are making steps to, like the 7.3 boss fight, be able to queue into certain fights with AI, and I think they're retroactively going back through in order to add some of that, but obviously that's going to be a long-term project. So that does help alleviate that. At least it's not locking people out of content. That being said, go back to the Pokemon stuff, right? Like, the more I say Pokemon's changed, the more I realize it remains the same. We get things like friend bases and stuff, right? Or things that happen via Wi-Fi, right? And like he was talking, SirToastyToes was talking about one of his other videos, right? Getting the Master Rank ribbon in like Sword and Shield, right? But like at a certain point, even if the servers are still up, you just won't run into people who are doing that, or you just won't have a new series, right? Like updates will just stop coming out. So, like, Sword and Shield, right? Remember how we had to have, like, certain events and they rotated through, much like in Scarlet and Violet? You'll have the Walking Wake Iron Leaves event in Scarlet and Violet, and those are on specific rotation. I missed the Mewtwo event. I was queued up and ready to do it, and I totally just passed by the Mewtwo event. I did get my Mews, but not the Mewtwo's, right? And, like, how you had, like, Gigantamax Snorlax, rotate through, and you'll have different rotations of that. And unless I missed something where they tied it to, like, specific dates or something, like, I knew certain Dynamax were, but, like G-Max Snorlax was one of those that I feel was, if I remember correctly, was like fairly event focused. At a certain point, and I remember calling this fairly early on, at a certain point when the updates just stopped coming out, is this going to make certain Pokemon unattainable? So, once we move on to Gen 10 and Champions, will Walking Wake and Iron Leaves be unobtainable in Scarlet and Violet, right? Because there's no new updates. And that's the part that makes me really sad, because we say that goes against the core of Pokemon, But that's kind of always been the thing. Who else remembers getting the shiny notch-eared Pikachu in Heart Gold Soul Silver, right? Pichu, not Pikachu. I did. You can't even transfer it up anymore, but like it was very much a timed event thing. Like you had to be part of that. Being in McDonald's when the Hoopa event launched in Gen 6, right? A number of things. And it's just... Or like Belly Drum Wooper and Gold Silver Crystal, right? In Japan, right? And how it never got that back. And it was from that one specific event. So the more things seem to change with Pokemon, the more I come to the understanding that things haven't actually changed. And that I think people are just noticing a lot more now. I think people have a lot more reason to speak up now, especially in a AAA, quadruple A gaming industry that just doesn't care about the consumer. And it's very easy to, oh, look at the funny Pokemon, consume more product, get excited for new product. But the reason I keep coming back to this as well, because like, I mean, I've spent 20 years in Pokemon, right? I can also go back and play other games. I can't, roll back and update on Helldivers and play the game when they nerfed everything, which I think was just a better version of the game for me specifically. Having to struggle, having to, deal with, cool, everything's nerfed, go get him, Tiger, right? Thus leading into certain issues I have with several issues I have with the game, including super samples going down to 6. So why would anyone play above 6, right? So number of things there. Point being, right? Like I can also just go back and say like, man, Scarlet and Violet ain't working. I'll go play, current for VGC. I'll go do what I need to, but there's nothing physically stopping me from going and playing like Pokemon Emerald. But even then, you can't roll back certain versions as well, especially like the Berry Fix update, right? One of the earliest things of DLC, in my opinion, right? Being able to Berry Fix Ruby and Sapphire. So this is all to say, encapsulating the entire argument, the more people point out things about Pokemon, and you come to your own educated conclusion on that, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you're indifferent or apathetic on it, right? Like, the more things seem to say, and the more we can look at mechanics that depreciate over time, right? Like max raid den events, walking like Iron Leaves, certain things no longer being cycled through Scarlet and Violet potentially. The more we just understand that this is kind of just Pokemon at its whole, right? Like, if I remember, like the record mixing in Gen 3, the underground in Gen 4, Gen 5 with, what was it, Black City, White Forest, I think that had some interconnectivity, right? Friend Safari, Gen 6, like there's just features, social features that just depreciate, and I feel that it's more isolating now. Yes, while we do have Union Circle and Scarlet and Violet, I think it's more isolating than ever because, like, remember, the Eon ticket can be passed along by a 3DS Spot Pass, right? Like, remember when Mii's existed? Like, it's been in the top left this whole video. That was obviously the Wii era, right? But, like, it feels that Nintendo has really moved away from, like, Spot Pass, Street Pass, Mii Plaza, stuff like that. And I think it makes it more of an isolated feeling. I'm going to hop off my soapbox, and we're going to continue this video at this point.
Most fixed symbol encounters in wild areas also only spawn once per day, so we'll have to get a little tricky with how we shiny hunt them. The first step is to find the spawn point for our specific wanderer and remember where it pops up. Next, we knock out the Pokemon in that spot, even if it's not the one we're looking for. Without leaving the current area, we make our way over to a raid den and enter the raid screen, selecting the option to raid with others. From here, opening the home menu, navigating to the system clock and forwarding it a day, we can return to the game and close the raid screen.
I'm actually surprised, especially if this is happening, I'm actually surprised Pokemon is not banning people's Nintendo Switch 2s for this. Not that I'm advocating for that, to clarify, right? Like, this is just, I feel like this was definitely something that got missed, that completely is just one of those things of like, someone just like applies palm directly to their forehead of like, oh my god, that makes sense why players are doing this, right? Because we've seen this all throughout Sword and Shield's life cycle, right? And I don't remember, I think they tried to implement a fix for it or something, like some sort of limitations or some sort of penalty. I don't remember offhand. But, like, this is actually one of those with how the Switch 2's EULA, right, their terms of service, that rolled out, and how they've been definitely, like, bricking people's consoles. I'm genuinely surprised they even let you touch the data, if I'm being completely honest. Once again, not that I'm advocating for that by any means. I think that's stupid. This is definitely a system workaround that I'm surprised Pokemon has continued to allow. Having successfully forwarded the time in a way that Sword and Shield will recognize. Right. Because we haven't left the area, the strong spawn that we knocked out hasn't had a chance to have its daily respawn. Finally, we save directly on top of their spawn point and reset the game.
If done correctly, this will instantly spawn a Scizor that collides with us and starts an encounter as soon as we load into the game.
Sure,
with the
makes
shiny
sense.
charm on this save file, each Scizor has a 1 in 1365 rate to be shiny, same as most of the eggs that we hatched back in Generation 5. We can tell that these aren't all the same Scizor because the gender occasionally changes, with the larger abdomen on female Scizor acting as a dead giveaway.
I forgot there was
With our instant encounter hunt set up, these resets are extremely fast,
I honestly forgot that Scizor had gender dimorphism. I actually totally forgot about that.
especially with the Switch 2 slashing the load times. But of course, as we near the finish line for this quest, the game has to throw us at least one more overodds curveball.
And yeah, the Switch 2 would make this very fast in comparison. I can totally see that. Which there is, you know, Switch 2 being pay to win, right? There is that discourse that's going around right now, which it's hard to deny it when, yeah, like it just makes stuff spawn faster, load faster. I mean, I like mine because it makes Scarlet and Violet not hurt my eyes to play, and that was the big one. That's why I didn't play Gen 9 for a hot minute. Look at the Togekiss. I love it. It just sits on the ground. It's so cool. I think it's the perfect, like, Subway Surfers addition to a stream. Just Pokepark. I wonder what copies are going for right now, actually. Oh, they're not bad. Okay. This is actually fairly affordable. I'm seeing GameStop for like 38. Okay. This is, well, that's actually Pokebar 2. I didn't know there was a 2, actually. I didn't even know it got a sequel. It's got Gen 5 sequel. Interesting. I could probably pick up the first one, yeah, for about 30. That's actually not bad. That's what my Patreon stuff goes to. Stupid stuff like this. Oh my god. It's okay. Clearly I just need to start doing Pokemon content for Patreon. Good stuff!
There we go.
Square Shiny too. Right, because the first said party doesn't actually come out of its Pokeball. Therefore, it cuts down on the animation time of throwing the
The
Pokeball.
sandstorm is raging. The Scizor is on screen. One moment. It is not the 27th.
The bright mode hurts. Ah,
There
so
we
you can
go.
change it back, yeah. And that's the thing, is like there's a switch to like return it back to like internet time too, right? So this is definitely a weird one, that with how Nintendo operates and how, you know, something patenting like even summoning mechanics and writing mechanics, right? Like, it feels like such an oversight. Like, it feels like an exception to Nintendo's current business model of just allowing things like this. Because it's not how the game is meant to be played, I would assume, according to what they would think. Like, people are going to do it. That's how that works. Like,
level
this is just going to
60,
happen.
Scizor's minimum HP is 154. We can hit him with one of these.
Yeah, making sure you do that calculation is relevant. Oh, that's going to hurt. Is it because Sandstorm's up? Why didn't the animation play? Oh, it probably has animations turned off. Right, because that's the thing you can do. Right, because it would save on time. It would cut down on time being able to do stuff, because animations do actually take the time to go up. All right, I'm remembering it now. Looking at his character, like I still think Sword and Shield had the better character system. Like, I like my character in Sword and Shield. I thought Scarlet and Violet was just a step backwards in terms of character customization.
Oh, gotta reset. I was super intent on using that friend ball only.
Rip.
Dang it.
Oof. Yeah, I definitely feel that. When you're just like, please.
Well, it broke out of both of my level balls.
That's unfortunate. Maybe Wormadam throws me off every single time. Look at that. the cry, I love that it repeats. Oh, it's so good. Max mushrooms. I don't remember that item. I probably missed it. I just don't remember it. It's been a while since I've even booted up Shield. The new game comes out and I kind of just stopped playing the old one. Like I have only 600 hours in like Shield. It's been a while since I've actually crossed the 1K threshold in a Pokemon game. I think the last one was maybe... I know I did cross it in original Black and White. I know I crossed the 1K hour threshold. I distinctly remember doing that. Oh, it's okay. Going into Gen 10. Gen 10's gonna be a game I'm gonna spend 1,000 hours on. I definitely know it. Ooh, getting the bag, Nebby status. I think it's wild to consider the Pokepark models as being more expressive than some modern Pokemon in battle. I think it's throwing me off. Because, like, I mean, yes, it's chibis and they're supposed to, like, wiggle back and forth and stuff. But, like, I mean, you look at things like this and they're just static. I mean, back in Stadium on the 64, they at least had idle animations, right? Like, they breathe. Like how my model breathes, right? How if I stand still, you can like kind of see it move up and down. It's more pronounced on like the waifu model, the
there
B
goes
model
all the Cramomatic Apricorn balls we made back when we caught Palkia.
But like, it's just one of those things. I sit here and I just like, I think the expressiveness should return in some aspect. I mean, sure, maybe for like, well, that's the thing. Like, maybe for VGC, turn them off. But even then, I feel like that's not a good answer because that's encroaching on people.
I was a little nervous with the Swords Dance boost. Like if it used X Scizor and crit.
Yeah. Droomish.
We might have been in trouble. And I only brought one Pokemon to this fight for some reason.
It's fine. This happens. Pupitar looks the same. Good stuff though. You can kind of see the metallic texture on it.
With Beans the Scizor in our collection representing the peak of British toast-based cuisine, instead of needing to evolve her, we can evolve one of our other 3 Scyther that weren't evolved in their home games. A metal coat can actually be found on Challenge Road near the entrance to Brawler's Cave. So with it and Brusquetta's capable scythes, we can trade to finally evolve her into a Scizor a mere 7 generations removed from the one she calls home.
So I'm assuming this is done on... This would be done on official hardware then. This would be done on the 3DS Virtual Console, which is fine. I just had to justify that for a second. I do wish you could actually, like, still buy them, though. Because I don't like that the eShop went down. I don't. Good stuff, okay.
Moving into Sinnoh 2, Scyther is once again a version exclusive, at least in the wild. Because I only had Shining Pearl, I considered using the Masada method again to get a shiny Scyther egg and hatch it somewhere ridiculous like the Hall of Origin. But I figured this quest will likely be my only chance to want to talk about the Generation 8 version of the Poke Radar on this channel.
Okay.
In order to radar Scyther at all, I borrowed Brilliant Diamond from one of my chat regulars, Karma. We can actually obtain the National Pokedex and by extension the Poke Radar extremely early, only requiring a single gym badge so long as we've seen every Pokemon in the Sinnoh Pokedex and made it to Eterna City.
Okay.
This was actually true all the way back in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So
isn't there like a speedrun strat or something to see all the Pokemon early? Something like that?
There's an idea for those who want to experience Generation 4 in a new way. Just trade over every Sinnoh Pokedex Pokemon after reaching Eterna, and suddenly dual slot encounters and even radar exclusives become available for almost the entire playthrough. Unfortunately,
I actually kind of like that. I think that makes your playthrough a little modular. That would be an interesting run. At least that'd be an interesting comparison. Say if I went through like Shining Pearl base, but then like I went to Brilliant Diamond and then I did this to just see how it well, obviously it's like version exclusives, right? Like that would be the difference. But I think that would be a really interesting way to showcase the modularity of playing through the game. I think that'd be interesting. I would play through both.
Because these remakes are so faithful, we'll have to play all the way until the post-game, as Scizor only appears at a minuscule 5% chance on Route 229, one of the last places the player gets access to in the entire game.
Right, it's up on the island,
It also appears in the Grand Underground, but with no radarable grass in sight down there, that wasn't really an option. By using powerful speedrunning strategies known as sending my starter to Pokemon Violet to immediately level them to 100, we reached the final routes without much difficulty. Using the money we acquired, we can stock up on repels and Pokeballs, and now let's go ahead and lay out what's different about this version of the Poke Radar.
So you know what that actually reminds me of? It reminds me of like in Destiny 2, when you, like, let's say you don't play through the entirety of, like, let's say you played Witch Queen, didn't play didn't play Lightfall, didn't play Final Shape, and then just got back, say, in Edge of Fate, right? Like how you've had expansions pass, and like, well, especially with Edge of Fate, how we have the power reset. And even if you've never played something like Salvation's Edge, you could just go do Salvation's Edge with, being like, what, 10 over because -10 modifier. Like, as the game progresses, you just passively level up even if you do nothing, even if you do other content. So therefore, you can go and do the content you missed a little easier. So this the way I'm relating it to Pokemon is that because of how home exists and the interconnectivity there, like, you could, in fact, just have, like, and how I understand how I think it's, like, if your own OT Pokemon, I don't think they're subject to the badge thing. I'd have to double check that, though. How you have to have badges up, Pokemon up until X level will obey you without question, right? I think that's only traded. Well, it says it's even traded, but I don't know how the OT actually interacts with it. I've never really had a problem. But that being said, yeah, you can just transfer it to Scarlet and make that thing level 100 and then send it on back, right? But see, like, we say this and like, oh, well, this is just modern Pokemon. I think it's easier via home. But like, let's say you wanted to do this in Emerald, right? You could do this in Emerald as long as you have your 2 wireless adapters, right? I think you use link cables as well. But like, I don't know, maybe send it to like Fire and Leaf Green or something because you have a completed Fire, Red, Leaf Green save file, and you just run it through the Pokemon League a bunch with an EXP share, or at the bottom of 7 Island, where there's the house with the Pokemon, not the Pokemon Center, like the house you go into and you'll heal your Pokemon, and there's a bunch of Pokemon Rangers around the area, one with a Chansey, right? Like, just use that to level up into whatever, and then you trade it back to Emerald or something like that. I think there were more breaks, right? Like, I think you had to hit the post game of like Coliseum XD Gale of Darkness to be able to trade with the mainline games, but I think it's, once again, the more we feel Pokemon changes, the more we feel that, like, oh, well, Pokemon just used to be different. Like, the more you look at it and go, there's less steps, there's less nuance, right? You don't have to have, a wireless adapter, right, to communicate with certain things. You don't have to have link cables, right, as accessories. It's just built-in infrared, right? Like, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. Think about how long I've been in Pokemon, things I've experienced, and how that compares with modern day. And I mean, like, Nintendo's always had, especially with Pokemon, they've loved their peripherals. Like, DDR Mario Mix had a Mario mat, right? Like, let me look at my desk right now because I can tell you 3 things offhand. You look into your, link cable, because there was a difference between Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. Some of them have switches nowadays. The modern ones, you can just switch between the two, but there was a difference. Game Boy Advance to GameCube adapter, you had things like that came into play with, XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum. Infrared Wi-Fi adapter that came into play in a couple things in Fire and Leaf Green. Like, I mean, Pokewalker. And like, I think the Pokewalker is more extra, right? That in itself is very isolated. That's definitely optional. But like, Pokemon has always had this, like, yeah, you're just there are peripherals you can do. So seeing this and seeing the home interaction is very evocative of where Pokemon has been.
Now, most of the general best practices for the Poke Radar in Generation 4 applies to Generation 8. Grass at each distance has a 53, 63, 73, or 83 chance to break the chain. Catching the previous encounter's Pokemon gives a flat 10% bonus to these chances, resulting in a 63, 73, 83, or 93% chance to continue respectively. This is a downgrade from the potential maximum of 98% in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, or 99.3% in X and Y, but unlike the original Generation 4 radar and more similar to the Generation 6 version, the plus 10% catch bonus persists even when using the radar again.
So we didn't actually cover Heart Gold, Soul Silver in this one. I hear Heart Gold and Soul Silver is great for competitive shinies, but I don't know why. I think there was a video that I saw. I don't remember watching it, but there was definitely one of those where like it was talking about how Heart Gold, Soul Silver are actually really good for competitive shinies. We didn't cover Heart Gold, Soul Silver at all in this one. It's also one of those weird things. If Diamond and Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, Shiny Pearl is supposed to be remakes to a fault, why change something like this? I think that's what's throwing me off a little bit.
So it beats out Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum's 88% chance to continue if the radar needs to be reset. Another similar but slightly different feature from the Generation 6 Pokéradar is the presence of guaranteed perfect IVs at certain points in the chain.
Sure.
While Generation 6 guaranteed perfect IVs for every Pokemon in the chain past certain milestones, BDSP on the other hand is much less generous, only giving 1 perfect IV on the 20th encounter, 2 31s at 30, and 3 IVs at 40. Finally, there's 5 guaranteed perfect IVs at a whopping 100 chained encounters, but no other Pokemon during the chain will have guaranteed perfect IVs.
Sure, 'cause you're
different from the
focusing
other
it.
two, however, is that the chained Pokemon species is always forced to spawn in shaking patches. Instead of chains breaking by giving encounters with a different species, chains in BDSP break by simply no longer being there when the encounter ends. In general, it's best to be catching all the Pokemon, only going into shaking grass that is on the ring of 32 patches 4 tiles away. With each encounter having a 93% chance to continue the chain, stacking that up over 40 encounters gives approximately a 5% chance to reach the maximum 1 in 99 shiny patch spawn rate. BDSP's next departure from the previous radars is that these are the first games that will keep showing each shaking patch continuously rather than for a short animation. BDSP also no longer uses multiple shaking patch animations to denote which ones are correct to go into. Instead, there's a flat 1 in 128 rate for a shaking patch to have larger blades of grass coming off of it. These denote that the patch contains a Pokemon with its hidden ability and have no effect on the chance to continue your chain. Those very familiar with the Generation 4 Pokéradar might recall that Pokemon in certain encounter slots were unobtainable if their slots were overwritten by radar exclusives. In order to prevent radar exclusives from erasing some species from the Pokéradar entirely, ILCA made it so that when determining the first encounter of the chain, there's a 20% chance to not use the radar exclusives in the encounter table.
Okay.
Another staple of previous radars that has no effect on your chance to continue in BDSP is Edgegrass. In prior incarnations, the game would pick exactly 1 patch from the 8 1 tile away, 1 patch from those 2 tiles away, 1 from the patches 3 tiles away, and 1 from those 4 tiles away. This had the effect of making tiles not fully surrounded by other grass patches more dangerous, as if the game chose empty tiles for each ring, the chain would break. BDSP will always select grass tiles until it has 4, and can even select multiple tiles on the same ring, so there's no increased risk of a chain breaking by being on an edge. As for the other threats to breaking the chain, such as leaving the area, using the bike, encountering a Pokemon that wasn't from a shaking patch, entering a trainer battle, and so on, these can all still happen in the remakes, so make sure to keep the repel active and clear any trainers from the area. With the mechanics of this item laid out for a third and possibly final time, I was braced for a brutal grind to match our 5% encounter rate Scizor chain up to a 5% chance to reach 40 encounters.
I mean, I know once I sit with the system, it'll make a lot more sense. Like having a crash course, it seems like a lot, but I know like with everything else, not just Pokemon related, right? But like going into like a Destiny 2 raid, right? Like I didn't know Kingsfall right off the bat. And I think that's something as I age that I have to come to more and more understanding with. It's, yes, I'm bad at games, don't get me wrong, and I will never say that I'm actually good at games. You will never hear me say that. But I also think I don't give myself enough credit because there are people who can't even run Root of Nightmares in Destiny, right? Like there are people who struggle tanking content like Howling Blade in Final Fantasy XIV. And I mean, it's just through repetition and through learning. And I think that that's a greater commentary. We've talked about this in some other reactions. That's a greater commentary on how people just kind of expect to pick something up and just be like God tier, S tier at it. And I mean, that also, I mean, you could argue that part of that's influencer culture, right? Their YouTube, Funny Purple app, streaming, etc., right? Like, and just seeing someone pick up, I don't know, like the new Call of Duty and just being apps just dominating, or even seeing like someone like Wolf Glick, right? Where, well, Wolf Glick just keeps, taking W's. But I think what's not mentioned is that like he's absolutely taken L's and he still takes L's from what I understand. Like from a like actual like match perspective, right? Like I remember watching this man when Sun and Moon was the thing, right? Him in his dorm room or whatever he was in at the time, and him just bringing Alolan Executor to an event. And it's like I have respect for that because at minimum he tried, right? Like at minimum it's like if I showed up to a VGC event with like Muck, right? And it's like, sure, even if I don't make it to like, top cut, even if I don't make it to top 16, right? Or even top 4, right? It's like, at least you showed up and there was a game plan here, right? Like you showed up and at least you tried something different, and failure isn't the end of the line. We've talked about this many, many times. Like, I think I take it to an extreme perspective, right? But like failures are a way to learn. It can expedite learning, right? When you take it to the extreme, yeah, it's like, you apply, face to the grindstone and you take L's, L after L, and you don't give yourself credit. And I think that's the area that I personally find myself in. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with like, I'm going to go do this new raid, or I'm going to go play on ladder in VGC, right? And it's okay to take losses, right? It's not like, prize money's on the line or something like that. Well, if you're playing an official VGC tournament, sure, that's a little different, right? But I think a lot of it comes down to, because I guess I have the excuse of being a perfectionist, which is definitely a big character flaw I have. But like, I think a lot of people are just scared to fail. And I think we just need to recontextualize like failure as being able to learn, being able to progress, right? That Dunsparce model is amazing. I kind of missed the Poketch. I kind of missed the watch. I think it was a really cool way to relay information. I kind of miss it. Seems like you definitely want an area with some breathing room. Ah, Sparkle. Yeah, so you just keep it at the 40 chain. The Animal Crossing stretch.
Let's go.
Very checking other things in the background. Good stuff. It looks clean. I don't know, the shiny's starting to grow in me. I like the more the vibrant clash between like its little like leg bits, the darker bits, and the carapace. I think Scyther's just a really well designed Pokemon. I don't think they're bad remakes. I definitely think that, like, they're faithful to a fault. And I think it's a way of, like, being able to bring old mechanics and the older Pokemon games in a modern light. And I don't know. I think there's an interesting analysis to be made talking about BDSP in regards to expectations, design philosophy, if it would, vibe with the current market. I don't know. There's a lot of commentaries you can pull from it. The Dust Ball. I mean, Dust Balls at least look cool. I like the red. The red on the seam.
Yippee.
Yippee.
Wahoo. Okie dokie, as Mario would say.
Yeah. As John Nintendo would say.
Chain didn't even break.
No.
We could go for another one. Not that
Yeah.
I need another one.
I was gonna say you could go for another one because the chain is still going.
Somehow
It's
managing
wild.
to assemble a 40 chain on our
Cinnamon.
very first try, Cinnamon joins our collection with a BDSP origin mark. Flying to Canalave City, we can take a boat to Iron Island to meet Byron in his shack outside, obtaining a metal coat which we can use to evolve Cinnamon.
I don't know. I think I miss islands. Like, I mean, we still have islands in modern games, right? Like Isle of Armor being a recent DLC. I don't know. I miss the Sevi Isles. I miss being able to go to like Iron Island and stuff. The more open world Pokemon becomes,
Now, while Legends Arceus is another
Close.
game where we can hunt
Smaller
Scizor
teams.
directly, I'm not going to do that for two reasons.
Sure.
One, Scizor only appears in the wild in space-time distortions in the Alabaster Icelands. The ideal conditions for this hunt would be to have the distortion weather from the climax of the game, which makes space-time distortions slightly more likely to occur at the first possible time slot.
Okay.
It also has the added benefit of keeping the Oshawott line out of the Iceland's distortion pool, as we're still at the point before catching Dialga and Palkia. But even with an ideal distortion hunting setup and the perfect Pokedex shiny rate of about 1 in 1024, it would still take on average about 114 hours to get enough distortions to reach 1024 encounters. The second reason is that I already hunted a shiny Alpha Scizor from Legends Arceus as part of my shiny bingo card last year,
Got him.
and it went so far over odds that I frankly don't want to hunt another one.
Which is fair. Like, that's fair. Like, you're expecting someone to sink that much time into it.
Shiny Alpha Scyther?
Especially when you consider metrics.
Let's go.
Um,
Sorry to interrupt.
metrics, upload
Yep.
times, right? Other life commitments, right? That's just a lot of time to ask. So that's incredibly fair. Man, one day I will continue my Legends Arceus playthrough. One day. Eventually. Part of why is that I'm in such a closed situation, and like setting up my Switch is just wild. Like, I have my dock next to me, but it's been a consistent issue to try to set it up, as well as there's just a number of challenges. I would like actual space to do things, of which I just don't have, and that's been a long-standing goal of mine, to try to get that space.
But since we've already evolved Loaf, the former Alpha, we can take this opportunity to evolve Ogura from Let's Go Pikachu using a metal coat, and here in
Right.
Hisui, no trade is required.
Oh god, please, can we bring that to mainline? Yes, more of that, please. So cool.
And with a dozen Scizor down, there's only one more origin mark left, Scarlet and Violet, which are also the fourth set of games where Scizor can be hunted directly, spawning in the Indigo Disc DLC's Terraria.
I think that adding size was such an interesting thing. It's interesting to see the same Pokemon just at different... and that's the other thing, right? Is like, it's not that they're just... I don't know. I don't know how hard that would be in coding. I don't know what that would do in terms of like memory processing. I'm not a game dev. I have interest in it, but I'm not a game dev, so I wouldn't know the actual like challenges posed by that. Because not only are they just modeling like, Scizor, but they're also, depending on its size, scaling it up or down, it seems. So I'm assuming it could be very process intensive. It could be very negligible. I personally don't know, but that is another thing to consider. Is like because people say why Dexit happened, and having like all 1025 Pokemon in a game is absolutely unreal. And I think that depending on how process intensive and how memory intensive having the different sizes can be, I definitely think you could definitely run into some challenges with that.
Now, these games are infamous for being able to print shinies, and so it would be a bit of an anticlimax for me to pop over to the Canyon biome, make a steel encounter power sandwich, and
Yeah.
scoop up the first shiny Scizor I found.
Right.
So taking a page from my Teary Mark Watchroll hunt, an easy way to bump up the rarity of our Paldean Scizor is to try and hunt for a cool mark.
Sure.
Learning from history, however, I am not about to go and embark on a single target personality mark hunt. Instead, I decided to go until I found something I felt was interesting enough. Our main sandwich recipe for this hunt is 3 servings of hamburger, 1 lettuce, and 1 tomato, alongside
That sounds baller.
2 of any type
I'm
of
hungry.
herba mystica, except specifically sour and sweet for some reason, which gives catching power instead of encounter power.
Sure.
With Encounter Power Steel level 3, Scizor is the only thing that spawns in the southern reaches of the Canyon biome, apart from some fixed symbol encounters with Tyrogue, Elekid, and Scraggy that always show up in the same spots, allowing us to fly in a rough triangle shape and spawn hundreds of Scizor per sandwich. I did reset for an outbreak of Scizor in this area as well, so some of them will have the additional shiny rolls from that.
Okay.
But with everything set up and our nebulous marked Scizor goal in mind, we begin our hunt.
Right, because you do have flight. So that was actually one of those. I was going to put this out before, but I'll probably put out the Team Sky Scarlet 2 video before this, because I never actually went through the DLC until after that video. So I just went through it this past week as of recording. The whole Kieran throwing the Master Ball thing was wild to me. Ooh, Star. Did they remove... There should be Star and Square Shinies, right? No, that's just static. I should hunt a Shiny Smeargle is what I should do. Holy mother of Shinies, Batman. I've been doing this all wrong. I was trying to go for a Clodsire at one point. Scizor's so big. Love watching the other smaller ones. No, I guess those are regular size. Because Alpha maxes out the size, right? Or it used to. The fact that the Switch... And that's the thing, the fact that the Switch 2 can handle this, right? Like, if this was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, update 1, maybe 2 at most, the fact that it hurt my brain and eyes as long as it did on the Switch 1 with just... I hope Pokemon never does that again. I hope that they never release a product in that state ever again. I have a hard time excusing that. Especially when, you know, you don't want to buy a Switch 2, go buy a Switch 1, proceeds to make Switch 1 more expensive. And it's not going to perform as well as the Switch 2 anyways. So, their business attitude right now, I've definitely been scratching my head at. Like, certified, do you not have phones? Yeah, I mean, the sandwich is just their tech. Kid Me is just having a field day because I've always loved Scizor. Scizor's great. Is it always on my teams? No, but I also love when I see it. I mean, there's some Sun teams I've seen where it'll put Scizor on it. So, I don't know. I've been honestly having a lot of fun with Sun recently, running bulky Groudon. I'm going to go back through when I go to older games, so I'm definitely going to run bulky Groudon sets. Something about just maxing its HP instead of speed just does it for me. I like the thresholds it hits, especially with Assault Vest. Actually, that Terapagos fight, up until, like, the last tiny bit of health that it had, breaking all 3 shields, Assault Vest Groudon just tanked everything. It was wild to watch. The flight would also make this easier as well. Yeah, so going through the DLC, it makes a lot of sense. And it just gives it to you by finishing the DLC.
Real quick to find another shiny. Also marked.
Is he using a dive ball? So Soak... Spore? Why Soak, though? Is it Steel? Steel type can be spored, right? Why would he be using Soak? I don't know this interaction. I know you couldn't spore a Terra at full, so it makes sense. I also don't know, because it says something about your Terra Orb recharges, like, naturally or better post-DLC. I don't know if that's a throwaway line or if mechanically, like, every battle now you can Terra. I don't know what the mechanic is there. I also see why Pluttermane used the Stellar Terra type on the world-winning team. Stellar seems disgusting, right? What? It's like the first move it will become that Terra type, but like, so if you use like a Ghost type attack versus a Fairy type, right? Like it'll be, you know, Ghost Terra even though it's Stellar Terra. Like it'll buff the Ghost typing, but not buff like a Moonblast, right? Like it's not an Omni. It's the first one, right? It's been interesting. I'll put it that way. It's definitely been interesting to look into it. Stellaterra is just really good on like just versatile attackers like Fluttermane. It just makes sense. Like a Stellar Miss Magius would go pretty hard. I feel we just need more Pokeballs. Like, I mean, we get new Pokeballs, right? But I don't know if we really get, like... Because we have our Moon Balls, we have our Dust Balls. Ooh, okay.
Okay, yeah, we found it.
Fair enough. Good stuff. It'd be really cool to have more designs. More Pokeball designs I'd be super into. Because, like the Safari Balls or something like that. Like the camo pattern, right?
Scizor the Arrogant. I don't know why, but that feels...
Right.
That feels right.
Feels good.
With Prideful Mark Scizor joining us, I decided to name him Tostada, which isn't strictly a Spanish dish, but frankly, Cuban tostadas are too delicious to pass up on putting their name on at least one Scizor.
This entire video has made me hungry. I've been reacting to this for about 2 hours at this point, and I'm just hungry. I'm gonna definitely take a break to try and like have allergies affect me less and try to get something to eat after this. Sandwiches sound amazing right now.
And since we don't need to evolve this last Scizor, we can finally evolve Torta from Pokemon Go. Dipping into my ample supply of metal coats from the item printer and sending him off to complete this incredible challenge.
I still need to do that. Actually, yeah, I need item print. I totally forgot about that. I need to figure out that system and how that works and upgrade it. BP farm as well. I'm sure I can just look up videos on that. Benefit of doing things nowadays versus, you know, ye olde days of trying to figure out Silent Hill puzzles, right? You can just look at the internet now. I love it. It's so cool. Just the walking through. It's so good.
Spanning 9 generations and 13 games of Origin, I now have a Scizor from every generation. Just in time for them to introduce a new Origin mark with the release of Legend ZA next month.
Oof,
and for you smart Alex who didn't wait until the end of the video to comment about how I need to collect every ribbon on these Scizor, trust me, I'm working on it.
Wow.
The daily ribbons alone are going to take just under a month from BDSP with 2 games. But in the meantime, look forward to what we'll get up to with Scizor and Legend ZA when it comes out. And thanks for watching.
Wow, man has more dedication and patience than I do. That is a monumental task. I love this. I thought this was honestly really good. I like that this was a follow-up. I like that, you know, it wasn't necessarily this very adventure quest. I really love it. Like, it's... Sure, I guess, you know, funny bit, right, Scizor? But it's also, like, I like that, like, this showcased, you know, not only a shiny hunt, but also generational interactions as well, right? Like, I really like that it explains certain things, and it definitely makes me hyped to try something at some point. Maybe I'll go shiny hunt to Smeargle. Because Smeargle's just tech, so I could definitely get some use out of that in VGC. And even if I went over to Smogon, if I went into singles or something like that, just do something like Smeargle. But I honestly thought that this was really good, and kind of just wild to watch. Just such a progression. Like, a lot of work and a lot of time went into this. And, like, this is one of those that I don't think it would do. I don't think it's going to do super well in terms of reaction ability, right? Like, but I also simultaneously just don't... Oh, yo, he's got the 24/7 stream. Let's go. I also just don't care. Because this is definitely one of those projects where, like, one of those passion projects I like watching, because you're able to just, like, see and just watch people experience things and, like, enjoy different things, right? Like, you're able to see why other people's expertise, you're able to see other people's, like, passion for it, right? And I think there's something special about that, and something special about just, like, learning about it. I think I could have commented more on this video as well, being a base, you know, hour and 15 runtime. I feel that I was very simultaneously very reserved, but also very, like, long-winded with certain sections on this. So especially when it gets to longer videos, because I know some people really do like the longer reactions, and they'll like leave it on during like work or something, right? They'll just watch in the background, and honestly, I encourage it, right? Like, I mean, the amount of videos I watch while I do other things, you know, whether I go for a drive, do chores, etc. I mean, that's how that works. Honestly, it's easy to watch long form content like this, or rather listen to it when doing other things. But the issue that I run into, and I've run into issues with this in many other videos, especially when they're over an hour, is that I feel like I should be pausing more. But at the same time, I kind of relate it to gratuity, right? If you go to a big steakhouse and your bill's like $500, do you actually tip like 20% of that? Social etiquette dictates, as far as I'm aware, there is a flat rate at that point. If you start going over a certain cost threshold, there is a flat rate. What that is, I don't go to enough expensive steakhouses. I don't go to enough expensive. Look, man, I go get burger. But I'm gonna also use this as an opportunity to kind of gauge a couple things. One, comment Whimsicott if you've made it this far. I know that's a YouTube meta thing where like, hey, who's paid attention this entire time, right? I mean, especially to like, God, almost a 2-hour video at this point. Second, as well, why do people watch my Pokemon content? I guess is the question I would pose. I guess kind of for expertise, I guess, but like, I guess some people mentioned like the passion I seem to have for it as well. But like, what about it? Like, even just from a reaction standpoint works. In terms of like, if I were to hypothetically make more Pokemon content, not just reactions, right? Because like we've reacted to False Swipe Gaming. I love their channel, absolutely. The reactions just don't seem to do very well, which is fine, right? So I'm trying to find that balance of like, I can't just react to M&J TV. I love his content, but I do feel disingenuous if I just react to one person, right? So I'm trying to find the balance. I'm trying to find like why people watch me, why people watch me for Pokemon specifically, and if there's any recommendations in terms of like, yeah, we watch you because of this might do well. So kind of looking for feedback on that. I've definitely filled enough time that I've wasted 2 hours of your guys' time. Say wasted. I've definitely spent 2 hours of your guys' time, and thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, SirToastyToes, for honestly just an amazing video. It was really cool to see the progression throughout time, and yeah, Heart Gold Soul Silver, yeah, it definitely doesn't have the funny mark, right? Same generation, but like, I thought this was really cool, and maybe I'll do a shiny hunt at some point because I don't know, I could spend a stream or two doing that. But thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one.